Next is all about distinguishing between a discrete and a continuous random variable. So this is our lesson 2. This is the continuation of our previous lesson. So we are still on the two types of a random variable. So for our lesson objectives, you're expected to describe discrete and continuous random variables and distinguish random variables as discrete or continuous. So we have here unlocking of term or locking term. So previously we have defined the word random. And if you have still remembered, random means chosen, done, or without a particular plan or pattern. Or if it is random if you do not know what will happen or if you do not know what will occur. So this is random. So example, drawing a raffle ticket. So we do not know in choosing a raffle ticket, we do not know what will occur or what ticket will occur. So since there is no plan or pattern. Next is variable. So this is just a review. This is variable means a quantity that can have any one of a set of values or a symbol that represents such a quantity. So example, we have variables x, y, and z. These you can represent any variable using letters in the alphabet, using capital letters. So these we have given examples of variables. Example of variables are age, civil status, number of heads. So it has one, it can have any one set of a set of values. So age can have a value of 1, 2, 3, so on. Civil status can have single or married, so on and so forth. So these are examples of variable. Next is random variables. This is just still a review. The random variable is a variable whose value is subject to variations due to chance. So the value of our random variable is determined by chance or probabilities. Next, it can take on any set of possible different values, each with an associated probability. So a random variable has a set of values. It can have, in our previous lesson, we have determined possible values of a certain random variable. Example, the number of heads that will occur when tossing a coin 2 times. So our random variable here is the number of heads. And it is determined by chance because when you toss a coin, you do not know what will happen and what will occur. So for example, when a coin is tossed twice, the possible outcomes that can occur are, so this is our sample space. So the possible outcomes when a coin is tossed twice, kadua, pwede mo makuha sa una mong toss isa ka head, then sa ikaduwa mong toss another head. So you have there the outcome of HH, where H represents head and T represents tail. So pwede mo makuha duwa ka head. Sa ikaduwa nga toss, sa next mga experiment, the first that occur is one head, the other one is tail. So this is the second possible outcome ang pwede mo makuha when you toss a coin twice. The next is you get two tails. And the last one is you get, so first mga pag-toss, you get tail. And sa second mga toss, you get head. So that's why we have here tail, head. So these are the possible outcomes that would appear when you toss a coin twice. So we only have 4 possible outcomes. So when you toss a coin, either one of these 4 outcomes will happen or will occur. So pag toss mo sa coin kadua, this can be in diri sa apat is ang pwede matabo. So isa diri sa apat ang pwede matabo. Let's try this. So we have here is an activity for you to be able to test if you know how to determine the sample space. You have here a table. First column, we have experiment. And on the second column, you have the sample space. So flipping a coin first. Let's try flipping a coin. So flipping a coin, you can get your paper and write your own answer for you to be able to test if you really know what if you really know how to write sample spaces. So when flipping a coin, what are the possible outcomes? Of course, we have here the sample space. It's either you will get head or tail. This is a random process because when you flip a coin, you do not know what will occur. Kita kabalo kung ano magwa because this is random. So, unless dayaon mo siya. If it is may daya, then it is not already random. So, when you flip a coin, you do not know what will occur, pero balaan natin kung anong pwede matabo, kung anong pwede magwa. Hindi lang natin mabalaan kung ano ang magwa. Hindi kita sigurado nga. Example, when you flip a coin, head gid ang magwa. So that is not uh, the process here. That is not the system here. So when you flip a coin, the possible outcomes that you will get are head, H for head, and T for tail. These are the possible outcomes. Wala na iban. So, duwa malang pwede magwa, head and tail. Wala na. Next, rolling a die. Number 2. Die. Die is this. You have seen the picture. Die. You're familiar with die when you are playing cards or when you are playing snakes and ladder. Die, you have your die there. Die if it is one, singular. If it is two, we call it dice. Just like mouse when singular, mice when plural. Okay? So what is the sample space when rolling a die? What do you think are the possible outcomes when you roll a die? What are the possible outcomes that will occur? So of course, we have here the number of spots. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the number of spots. Of course, when you roll a die, the possibilities, the outcomes that would appear is either you will get 1 spot, 2 spots, 3 spots, 4 spots, 5 spots, 6 spots. So these are called spots. Example, this is 3 spots, this is 2 spots, and this is 4 spots. And if you flip the die, you have there 1 spot, 2, 5 spots, and 6 spots. Of course, we only have until 6 spots. That's why we only have here the sample spaces. We only have here 6 possible outcomes. Okay. Next, number 3. Drawing a card at random from a deck of 6 identical card suits labeled 6 identical card suits labeled 1 to 6. So makuha ikaw sang isa ka card at random, of course. You do not know what will happen from a deck of 6 identical card suits. So when we say 6 identical card suits, they have the same identity. Okay. So the sample space, the possible outcomes that would happen, that would appear, would likely to be, of course, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Example, you have a card of spades. So spades are identical. 6. You have 1 spade, 2 spades, 3 spades, 4 spades, 5, 6 spades. So it's either you will get 1 spade, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Since we only have 6 possible outcomes because we only have 6 identical cards. Next, number 4, spinning the wheel shown as shown here, assuming that the arrow will never fall on the line separating the 8 sectors. So assuming that this arrow will not appear on the lines. Of course, it is possible, right, na mag-appear, but assuming nga hindi siya magtupa sa dira, matupa lang siya sa mga numbers. Okay, we have your numbers. Now we have your sectors labeled with numbers from 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, and 16. So we have, now what are the possible outcomes when you spin the wheel? Ano ang Anong pwede matupan sa arrow? Example, nag-spin ka wheel. Anong pwede mo makuha when you spin the wheel? What are the possible outcomes? So the possible outcomes, so it's either you will get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So we have how many possible outcomes? We only have 8 because there are only 8 sectors in the wheel. Next, rolling a die and tossing a coin simultaneously. Simultaneously means we're doing it at the same time. So when you roll a die and toss a coin simultaneously, sabay. When you roll a die and tossing a coin, what are the possible outcomes? Dunganan mo sila. Roll a die and toss a coin. So it's either you will get, so the possible outcomes are here. So it's either you will get, sa, sa coin, you will get head and 1. Pare sila. Or it's either you will get head 2, next head and 3, head and 4, head and 5, head and 6. Or you will get tail and 1, tail and 2, tail and 3, tail and 4, tail and 5, tail and 6. So we have how many possible outcomes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12 possible outcomes. So when you roll a die and toss a coin simultaneously, it's either one of these 12 outcomes will occur. So biskan isa sa ma-12 nga nga outcomes ang pwede mo makuha. You can try that. You can try rolling a die and tossing a coin and see what will happen or what will occur. I am sure that the result is one of these 12 possible outcomes. Okay? So, did you get all correct answers? If yes, then you are mastering how to get sample spaces. So we have two types of random variables. The first is discrete random variable and the second is continuous random variable. So discrete random variable is the values are obtained by counting. So just remember the word counting for you to be able to immediately remember what is discrete. So discrete is obtained by counting, so it is countable. While continuous is obtained by measuring. So you cannot count it, but instead you're measuring it. So examples of discrete random variables we have here. We can count the number of learners in a section. So if we are having face-to-face classes, I can count you individually. How many are you in a section? You could be 30, 45, or 50. We can also count the number of COVID-19 patients in a hospital. How many patients are there in a hospital? So it could be 90, 96, or 100 patients. So observe that the values are expressed as whole numbers. While for continuous, example is your age. Why age is continuous? Because your exact age, if you are asked, how old are you or what is your age, you could be 16 years, 10 months, 2 days, 5 hours, 4 seconds, 4 milliseconds, 8 nanoseconds, 99 picoseconds, and so on. So imagine it never stops. So that's why it is continuous, because this is your exact age. But if you are asked how old are you in years, so you could answer you are 16 years, 17 years old, 18 years old. So it is countable. It is already a discrete because the values are obtained by counting and the values of age in years are limited. But if you are asked how old are you or your exact age, then the values could be are as this example, just like this example, so it never stops. That's why it is continuous. Another one is height. Of course, you cannot count your height, but you can measure your height. And your height could be 135 and 5/10 centimeters, 145 and 4/10 centimeters, 1 and 5/10 meters, 2 and 3/10 meters, 5 feet and 2 inches, and so on. So observe that the values are not expressed as whole numbers, or the values can take the values of height can take not just whole numbers but numbers between two whole numbers. Example, your 135, your 135, I'm sorry, your 135 is obtained from can be found from between 135 to 136. Of course, your height can be between these two numbers. So 135 and 136, there are values between these two numbers. So there are values, example 135.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 0.123, 0.124, so on. So it is continuous. There are values between two numbers, so your height can take that value. While in discrete, of course, we cannot have patients as 50 and 1, 50.1, 50.2. We cannot have values for our learners because there is no such learner as 0.1, except na lang kung manananggal. So 5.5, there is no such thing as that value. That's why discrete random variable values are expressed as whole numbers, while in continuous, you have here the word continuous. So the values can be expressed in decimal forms because the values are continuous. Or it can take values between two numbers. That's why it is continuous. I hope you get that. So more examples. Example 1. An experiment of tossing 5 coins repeatedly and counting the number of heads that appear. So what do you think is a random variable here? So the random variable here is the number of heads. Now determine, is this countable or measured? Is this discrete or continuous? Of course, this is a discrete because it is countable. You can count the number of heads. So the possible values are 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, and until 5 because we only have 5 coins. So the random variable is discrete. Next, example number 2, finding the average number of COVID-19 patients of the hospitals in the city for a month. So the random variable is the average number. Random variable is the average number. Is this discrete or continuous? The answer is it is continuous. Why? Even though we are dealing with patients, but the random variable here is average. Take note that when you take average, it can take values between two numbers. Example, we have in a month, in week 1 there are 20 patients, in week 2 25 patients, in week 3 26 patients, in week 5 25 patients. So you add them and divide it by 4, then you get the average. And of course, the value can take between two numbers, so you can have the result might be 25.6. So take note that 25.6 is not expressed as a whole number because we are dealing with average. So the random variable is the average number of COVID-19 patients. It takes values in a continuous scale because it can take values between two numbers. So the random variable is continuous. But if you are asked, without the word average, you are asked the number of COVID-19 patients, then the random variable is discrete because it is limited in nature and you can count them. Number 3, the lifespan of the battery of our cell phones. Lifespan, kalawigon, sang the battery of your cell phone. So the random variable is lifespan of the battery. So the time, of course, when we talk about lifespan, it deals with time. So the time is, in our previous examples, takes values on a continuous scale, because the lifespan of your battery can either be 2 months, 3 days, 5 hours, 2 minutes, 60 seconds, 50 milliseconds, 8 nanoseconds, so on. So the random variable is continuous. If it is time, it is continuous. But if you're asked time in years, then it is already discrete. Next, number of text messages sent by a subscriber in a week. Our random variable here is the number of text messages. Is it countable or not? Of course, the number of text messages is countable because you can count them as whole numbers. So you can take value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So this is discrete. Then there is no such thing as a text message that can take values between two numbers, because we do not have number of text message as 1 and 75. There is no such thing as that. So it is not, it cannot take values between two numbers. So next example, example number 5. Brand Z is a company that manufactures batteries. They record the number of defective batteries that are contained in each box before it is sent out for delivery. If X is the number of defective batteries per box, then what type of random variable X? So as a short background, if you're owner of a company, you want to make sure the qualities of battery. So may ara siya, quality assurance before ipadala sa mga customers. Before i-send sa mga customers, ilang taon anay kung may depektibo, may guba ng mga battery, wala siya ga-function, or wala, or may ara bala, or wala. So it is checked before it is sent out for delivery. Now, what is our random variable here? So the random variable here is the number of defective batteries per box. So if upon checking, pilaihan ka mga defective batteries ang makita nila sa box. Now the question is, what type of random variable is X? Our X is number of defectives. Defective batteries. What type of random variable is X? So X is discrete random variable, and X can be a set of values from 0, 1, 2, and so on, where N is the total number of batteries in each box. Of course, you can count defective batteries. You can count how many defective batteries are there in each box. So values can take as whole numbers. It can be 0, 1, 2, and so on. Of course, it is not why it is not continuous, because it cannot take values between two numbers. Example, we do not have 2.2 and 5. We do not have number of defective batteries as 2 and 5 tenths. It cannot take values between two numbers. So this is between 2 and 3. So the number of defective batteries cannot be 2.5 because we do not have a 0.5 defective battery. So it can only take whole numbers or countable numbers. Okay, so let's proceed to the activity proper. Always read the general directions. So please be reminded that do not write anything in your last because it will be returned in your respective in your teachers. So all answers must be written in a separate sheet of paper. Just make sure that it is properly labeled with name and with the number with the lesson number. So read each problem carefully and answer it systematically. If a solution is required, always encircle or box your final answer. I hope it is clear to you. So exercise 1, discrete or continuous random variable. Give at least three examples each of discrete random variables and continuous random variables. The examples are given in the table below. Copy the same table in a separate sheet of paper and write your answers on the table. So you have to copy this table and you have to give examples. You have to give three examples of each discrete and continuous. These are just 1, 2, and 3 are examples. This is an example. This is an example. This is an example under discrete random variables. So you do not need to copy these examples. You have to give your own example under discrete. Example for discrete random variables, we have number of learners in the classroom, number of persons infected by COVID-19 in one day, number of visitors in tourist spot in a week. There are many examples of discrete, so you do not need to copy these examples because these are examples. These are given already. Also, in the continuous random variable, you have to give your own three examples for continuous random variable. So we have here given already. These are examples for your reference. Example, weights of learners in one section. Average number of recoveries of COVID-19 in a month. Room temperatures in a certain time of the day. Room temperatures. Room temperatures is a continuous because it can take values between two numbers because you can have 38.5 degrees Celsius. So example, this own example. So you give your own three examples and answer these guide questions. How will you know that a random variable is discrete or continuous? You have to explain. You have to write your answer. What is the difference between a discrete random variable and continuous random variable? Next, exercise 2. Identify whether the given situation involves a discrete random variable or a continuous random variable. So again, you're going to identify if it is discrete, if it has discrete random variable or continuous. Example. So number 1, getting the body temperature of patient admitted in a COVID ward. Collecting data about the weights of students in a certain school. The number of siblings. Siblings means magkakapatid. Okay. Number of siblings in a family in Iloilo province. Number of no work, no pay employees in a certain municipality caused by pandemic. And number 5, the speed of a car. So you're going to write discrete random variable or continuous random variable if the situation involves discrete random variable or continuous random variable. So you can only write your answers in your paper. So you do not forget to label exercise 2. Number 6, number of people playing lotto each day. The number 7, number of text messages received by a particular individual in a day. Number 8, the number of possible outcomes in rolling a die. 9, the amount of liquid in a can of soft drinks. The amount of liquid in a can of soft drinks. And the number of fouls committed by a basketball team during the games. So 1 to 10. Exercise 2 is 1 up to 10. And number 3, what is that again? Complete the table. Complete the table below. So we have here table. Please copy this table and supply the missing. What is missing? So we have here the experiment. First column, experiment. Second column, you have to identify what is the random variable. And the third column, you're going to identify the possible values of the random variable for x. We have the tossing example, number 1. Tossing a pair of coins. So you have 2 coins. So the random variable is number of heads that appear. So the possible values for the random variable, so anong pwede mo makuha when you toss a coin? Pila ang head when you toss two coins. So it's either you will get 0, meaning you will get tail tail, so there's no head. It's either you will get one head. It's either head tail or head tail or tail head. So there is one head. Or it's either you will get two heads. So it's either you will get head head. That's why two heads. So this is the possible values of random variables. So you can refer to our previous lesson in identifying possible values. Next, rolling a die is already given. The random variable is the number that appears or the number of spots. So we only have the possible values. So the possible outcomes that you will get when you roll a die is either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It is only until 6 because the die has a maximum of 6 number of spots. Next, number 3, listing the set of whole numbers. So we only have positive whole numbers. The random variable is positive whole numbers. What do you think are the possible values for our random variable, which is positive whole numbers? Next, recording the scores of players in a basketball game. Try to identify what is the random variable here. We write it here. So we have here the possible values is, if x is the random variable, then x could take values. X is greater than 0 or equal to 0 because score can be 0 or higher than 0. That's why it's greater than 0 because score in a basketball game can be 1, 2, 3, or 5. But the values here, it can only be 25. The maximum score of a player in a game is only 25. So I know basketball players can relate. Next, number 5, the lifespan of your laptop battery. The random variable is time until the battery becomes defective. What would be the possible values of the random variable here? And number 6, amount of paint to beautify a wall. So identify the random variable and the possible values of the random variable. And do not forget to answer these guide questions. Which of the examples in the table are discrete? How about continuous? So you have to enumerate the discrete and continuous. And for your reflection, please do not forget to write this in your reflection because this is a part of your performance task, journal notebook. So you write your reflection for lesson 2. For the head, what is something in the lesson that made you think? For heart, how do you feel about the lesson presented? For the bean, is there something in the lesson that you disagree with? For the bag, what are your takeaways from the lesson? So please write it down in your journal notebook. And just a short reminder, please hindi anay maglantaw sa answer key kung wala pa ikaw katapos because it is cheating. So you are responsible for your own learning. Paano ka maka-learn kung malantaw ka lang sa answer key, right? So you have to answer first before checking your answers in the answer key. And I am asking for your favor to check your own work. I know you are honest and you can do it in your own. So please do it because it will help you to determine if you are really learning or not. Just be honest. Okay, thank you. And please do not forget to send me to write your comments, feedbacks about our video lesson. Please be honest. I will not take it serious. I will not take it as negative, but I will take it as constructive. So you have to write your comments, feedbacks, or for your suggestions and for the improvement of this video lesson. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned a lot from this lesson.